So clearly I'm very excited about coming after that beautiful performance. It's exactly the position I love to be in. So when I began my career in human rights, I actually had a colleague, a very well-meaning mentor, tell me that I was going to have 4 key challenges in life. He said, your gender, expected, ethnicity, my faith, and of course, my age. Except there was a silver lining. He said, as long as I did not volunteer my opinions, I would grow out of my age, and by default into opportunity. Now, a quality I am sure I share with many of you in this room is that I do not know how to keep my opinions to myself. And what my colleague failed to recognize was that I never viewed those 4 qualities as weaknesses or challenges. Rather, I saw them as opportunities, not only for myself, but for the way that we view leadership globally. So I don't know how many of you here remember the assignments we had in grade school, where we had to write an essay about a leader. So you would have to write a whole biography, how they were raised, their achievements, how they inspire future generations. And before you even selected who you were writing about, we spent whole class days and weeks learning about different leaders. I still remember, as a grade school student in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, handing in my essay on Tommy Douglas, the father of universal health care, a leader by anyone's definition. And I remember all my classmates handing in their essays on Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., Pierre Trudeau, and yes, even Wayne Gretzky. And now, years later, with all this information at our fingertips, we find these lists on the internet. The top 10 global leaders, the most influential people of our time. And while I don't debate their courage, their strength, or their leadership, these same lists and articles cite them as evidence as to why we have a crisis of leadership today. They ask, where are the Nelson Mandelas and the Martin Luther King Jr.'s? What these articles fail to expand upon is our own failed definition of leadership and what a leader looks like. Our definition is too narrow. It almost entirely disregards young leadership, but completely ignores local and community leaders. The leaders whose strength and passion, whose motivation and sacrifice create the mobilizing power, the credibility, and the strength for the Nelson Mandelas and Martin Luther King Jr.'s of the world. And it may not come as a surprise to many of you that in the over 60 conflict countries worldwide, those local leaders are often women. Now, the first leader I ever met was my mother. Her life has been a series of sacrifices that society has decided and disguised, really, as the necessary duties of any woman. By 19, she had moved from her home country of Libya to Canada, where she did not know the language or the people or the customs. And by my age now, 26, she had lost a child, and she had had me, her 7th child. She would go on to have 5 more. Now, I am what some academics call a radical middle, what some parents, I am sure, call a malignant middle. And when I was a child, I was very, how can we call it? I was very inventive. Now, mind you, there exists an ample body of evidence which shows that when children who used to lie, it was actually a sign of fierce intelligence, so in defense of my younger self. But I was a handful as a kid. I was. And my mother didn't just tolerate it, she fostered it. Not the telling tall tales part, but the creativity and the curiosity and the ambition. And my childhood was a series of daily lessons on leadership from her. I saw my oldest sister, Amira, become the first Libyan to graduate from medical school in Canada. She went on to become a renowned pediatric plastic surgeon. I saw my other older sister, Ahlam, choose to be a stay-at-home mother and create the same environment in her home that my mother had created for us. And in both scenarios, opposite life paths, my mother was equally supportive and enthusiastic. Her belief in leadership was that you had to give somebody the skills and the confidence and the ability to dictate their own decisions. And as I got older, I too would go to my mother for advice. First, for my culinary career, until I realized I do not like cooking. And then the challenges of my medical career. And now, more recently, my ideas and my beliefs on women's ability to create peace globally. And in each and every single scenario, my mother's eyes would shine with pride, and she would feed the ideas in my brain with her experience and her enthusiasm and her belief in me. And when I have been challenged, when I have wanted to give up, she has been my backbone and my courage. And even 6,000 miles away, she is my greatest online enthusiast. Now, my mother is not unique, and I am not courageous. I can argue that for many of us, it's not courage. I simply work in a space that my mother's leadership created for me. And it's not just her. I wake up daily with the reassurance of hundreds and thousands of local leaders. Their courage has given us the comfort to strategize when faced with global problems. The knowledge that they'll keep the lights on and the schools operating, the electricity running, means that we can deliberate and measure and unfortunately oftentimes ignore global crises. That is the definition of leadership that we lack, the leadership which does not make our lists, the leadership we often ignore when we speak about how we're going to change the world. And I know I don't have to tell anyone in this room that it is not bombs or guns or drones which diffuse conflict globally. It's local leaders. It's the women, the CEOs, the doctors, artists, authors, athletes, doctors, teachers, and mothers, whose daily existence is an act of defiance, be it against extremism in Libya, be it against the manipulation of religion globally to control women's bodies and rights, be it against extractive corporations in Latin America, or against the injustices of climate change. It is their local leadership which amplifies all our voices. It is their local leadership which makes any change possible. Now, I ask you, what has brought you here today? Who has reinforced your beliefs? Who has challenged your thoughts when they needed challenging and polished your tongue when it was too sharp to be heard? Who has validated your leadership? Because for me, that is a distinction I owe to my mother. Had it not been for hers, I would not have had the space or the environment to invent and create. I would not have been able to aspire. I would not have been ambitious. Had it not been for her leadership, I would not have recognized or claimed my own space to lead. Thank you.